do right now and can't get enough of them. So it just seems like every one I make is different, and I just enjoy it. I can't wait for the new season. So this is a couple pictures she just had up there of my plushies. That derpy right there, I think, is the one that's sitting here on the end. So her owner was gracious enough to set her up here so she could show off. Okay, a little bit about myself for those of you that have not been to one of my panels and don't know. I am married. I have 2 grown children that just graduated, both of them graduated college. And I've been sewing for about 30 years now. So my grandma taught me when I was 7 years old, and it's just something I've always loved to do. I don't do it full time. I do have a full-time job, but I love to sew. I always have. I took a lot of years at home ec, and they were easy A's, so that's why I always took it. One of the things that I did before I got an MLP was I made Native American regalia. And this is what I did. I did this for 12 years. This is where White Dove Creations started. And my husband is actually Native American, and both my kids are registered tribal members. And so we did this. We went to the powwows for several years, and so when my daughter at 9 years old wanted to learn to dance, she wanted an outfit, and I didn't have a clue how to make it, so I learned, Googled. And so we started in the powwows, and people wanted to, they wanted one of my regalia outfits, and so I started making them. And I ended up selling them nationwide, all through Canada, and some worldwide. And one of my dresses was in the Olympics. When Canada had the Olympics, one was in the opening ceremonies. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, she called me and said, I'm in the opening ceremonies and I'm wearing your dress. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Actually, I'm kind of curious, what is actually?
My husband's Potawatomi. Yeah, citizen Potawatomi. So yeah, his grandma was born on the reservation in Oklahoma, in Shawnee, Oklahoma. We've been down there and danced several times on that reservation. A lot of fun. So, okay, bronies. I had never heard this term up until about 2.5 years ago, and didn't have a clue. And it was during the summer, right at the end of the first season, when my daughter came to me and said, do you know Brett, who is my son, is a brony? He likes My Little Pony. And I thought, oh, okay. That's so bizarre, I just kind of blew it off and ignored it, because the only My Little Pony I knew of course, was the first generations in the 90s, which I didn't really, wasn't my favorite. And so I just kind of ignored it, and about a month later, we were up here in Omaha at Toys R Us. And my son and I he wanted to go there, and so we were looking around Toys R Us, and he kept trying to get away from me, and I couldn't figure out why, and I found him in the pink aisle looking at My Little Pony, and so I got, oh yeah, Courtney said you liked My Little Pony, and so that's kind of where he confirmed it. And on the way home, he asked me to make him a plushie, which I did not have a clue, didn't have a pattern, didn't know where to begin, didn't know anything about the show. So he kind of explained what bronies were and what it was all about, and where it got started, and the whole 4chan, everything. And when I got home, he emailed me all the episodes from season 1, which I marathoned. I watched back to back, at least twice. I loved them. I absolutely fell in love with them. It took like 1 episode. And so I was just crazy about it. And so my first plush I made out of fleece, and not having a clue on how to make these things, it didn't turn out the best. I turned the fabric the wrong direction, which I didn't realize there was a difference. And I ended up with a giraffe-looking plushie. Her legs were long and skinny, and so was all the rest of her. And my son took one look at it and went, I think I'll commission somebody else. And which he did. And so I immediately altered my pattern. So I got this little short squatty thing because I altered it too much. And by my third pattern, I got something that resembled what I do today. So he canceled his commission and bought my own. So. But that's kind of how I got started. So how many in here have tried making their own plushies or would like to learn to make their own plushies? Awesome. Okay. The best thing I can tell you is don't give up. You're not going to make a perfect plushie the first time. I'm still working on it. Okay. There is never a perfect plush. Okay. As long as you have that attitude, it's like artwork. I mean, how many of you that draw, that are artists? Exactly. Are you ever totally happy with what you make? Never. Because the day you are is the day you're dead. Okay? It means you are no longer creative. You're no longer trying to evolve or change. Plushies are the same way. So for those of you that want to make them, just keep working at it. Just keep trying. And I'm on DA. I would be more than happy to give you pointers. If you have a question, just note me on DA. I do it all the time. So just note me privately. Otherwise, my other stuff gets cluttered up, and sometimes I delete all those. So my experimenting with the different fabrics, like I said, I started with fleece. The reason for that is fleece is a whole lot cheaper than minky. Minky is what they're made out of here, which is just super soft. But minky's like $14 a yard, where fleece is $5. So while you're learning, developing your pattern, I suggest you start with fleece. The tweaking of your pattern, like I said, don't give up on them. Just keep trying, but make small changes, because I made the mistake of my first pattern. I went way overboard with my second, and that's how I ended up with a giraffe down to a toad. So don't give up on tweaking your patterns all the time, but just small tweaks. And you may have to make a dozen plushies before you get one you really like. On DA, there are several free patterns, and you can go on there. They are very basic patterns, but tweak them to where you make them your own. But it's a place to start, and it kind of gives you an idea how they're made, because there is a total separate pattern underneath these bellies. And so, but it just kind of shows you how they're put together. So just go on DA. Like I said, I think it's Voodoo Tiki's got some free patterns, and there's a couple other people that did.
Yeah, I think I found one in Oso Geeky as well. From Norland. Actually, they have a YouTube tutorial on it as well.
They do. In fact, there's several tutorials too, even on YouTube and stuff, that shows you how to put these things together. So, excuse me. But when you're making them, like I said, I had so many people come on DA and go, oh, I made one, it looked horrendous, I threw it away, I never tried again. Well, so did my first one. In fact, it was really, really sad. So just, you can't go by your first one. Make several. It helps if you have a critical son, which I do. He tells me there is no perfect plush, and he critiques them down to the microbe. But that's part of why my plushies look like they do, because every time I make one, he goes, okay, it looks really good, but here's what you need to fix. So if you're okay with that, and being artists, I don't care if you're drawing, painting, what you're doing, you got to be able to take criticism. If you can't, you never evolve as an artist. So and DA is a great place for that, but be careful, because some people are very blunt on DA. They have no problem coming on and telling you what's wrong with your art. But if you're okay with that, listen to them. Most people on DA especially are very brutally honest, but it'll help you to evolve in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and actually, sad to say, I actually heard about this, that a lot of people get brutally criticized on DeviantArt, actually just block people and just don't understand criticism whatsoever, just think it's a mean comment.
Unless somebody's being out and out rude or crude or vulgar, I don't block them. I mean, I listen to what they say. Sometimes it's kind of hard to take, and especially when it's somebody that criticizes my plushies that's not a plush maker. But still listen, because they still have a critical eye. And like I said, this goes for any art form. Listen to them. Even you may say, well, that person doesn't draw, or I draw way better than them, and they're criticizing mine. Just because I can't sing doesn't mean that I don't know what a good voice sounds like. Okay, so it's kind of the same principle. Trial and error, that's what I was just saying. Just keep working at it. Don't give up. But every time you make one, you know if it's good or not. You can tell by looking at it if the legs are too short, too fat, whatever. Then just tweak your patterns by, a quarter of an inch or half an inch, and make another one. Small changes, little tweaks. Don't go overboard, because you'll end up with something that then you don't know where you went wrong. So just make tiny tweaks. Supplies. Like I said, start with fleece. And when you get a pattern that you're happy with, then move to minky as soon as you can. If you don't have a lot of sewing experience, minky's a little difficult to work with because it has such a strong nap. It is a fake fur. It's just a really, really short napped fake fur. But if you're okay with working with minky, move to it as soon as you can, because it just makes such nicer plushes. I do have 2 sewing machines that I work off of. One is a Viking, and it's just a workhorse. So it's really great for sewing my plushies. That's what I use it for. Minky is like dandruff. When you cut into that stuff, it's everywhere. So for those of you that follow me on DA, I have a new sewing room. We just moved in January, February. And this room is fairly large now, and it's covered wall to wall in minky. Little pieces of minky everywhere. Well, the stuff gets in your sewing machines. So I use my sewing machine solely for sewing these. I then have a Brother SE400 that does all the embroidery work on these. I do not sew on that embroidery machine because I don't want the minky all in it any more than I have to have. So, because it gets in your machine really bad. So the SE400 Brother does all the embroidery work. I do use PE Design, that is the computer program that goes with this embroidery, because you must have a computer program to pull these designs off the internet. So for the eyes and the cutie marks, I use PE Design for the program. So it works really well. I really like it. Fleece versus felt. I've had a lot of people call or note me and ask me about using felt or just cotton or anything. Okay, felt, cotton, any of that doesn't stretch. You have to have a fabric that stretches. Without a stretch, it isn't going to give you the right design. So, especially like when you see these, they're narrow at the top, fat at the bottom. So you have to have something that stretches that gives you the proper design on the ponies. So don't use felt, don't use cotton, stick with fleece. Okay? Minky, like I said, Minky's a great fabric, but it is more expensive, so don't go buy Minky until you're ready for it. The nap and the stretch. Okay, this is a mistake. Ignore the lack of the head because I didn't go any further. This was at a time where my mom was cutting out ponies for me. She was cutting out the patterns. Minky, or even your fleece, the stretch has to go across the leg. It has to go across the leg. If you have the stretch go down, this is what you'll get. And there's no way to fix this. Even when I sew into the belly like this, these legs still curve out. So there's no way to fix this if you have the stretch go down the leg. So this is the number one most important thing, is that stretch goes across the leg, no matter what fabric you're using. So yeah, this one's crazy. Anyway, there you go. And you can feel it. If you've never felt Minky, you can just pass that around too. It's so soft. So.
I felt a few of these plushies before.
Yeah. Yeah. Not all the plush makers make them out of Minky because they don't want to spend the $14 a yard for the fabric. But for me, that's the only way to go is with Minky. Okay, I talked a little bit about my equipment. My Viking was about $400. My embroidery machine is $400, and that or PE Design computer program is also $400. So you can see this is not cheap to get into. You don't have to go out and buy $400 machines. If you do want to do the embroidery part, those are about the cheapest there is. If you don't want the embroidery machine, a lot of people do applique, which my Native American regalia you saw with all the stacked fabric, that's applique. And you can do cutie marks and eyes with applique. That's what I did when I first got started. It wasn't very long before the demand was so great that I ended up working the embroidery eyes, and this is a lot faster. And I like them better. Okay, yeah, the cutie marks and eyes, they are all the embroidered. Like I said, I talked a little bit about being able to applique them. I have seen some painted. I have seen some that are the printout that people glue on. If you're doing them just for yourselves and you can't applique and you don't want to purchase the machines, you can print those out and use fabric glue and glue them on. Okay, cutting them out, like I said, the big thing is making sure the stretch goes across the leg and not down, because you will end up with a weird looking pony. As far as top stitching, I just use my regular machine. All the top stitching, like on Pinky in her mane and tail, those are just a little tiny small zigzag that I do, and I just write on the fabric. Same way with the cutie marks, this is done just right on the fabric. I don't do them on separate and cut them out or anything, so I don't like glue on my plushies. So they are stuffed with polyfill, which I buy at Walmart in 10-pound boxes. So I buy a lot of polyfill. Okay. Most of these too, there is no wire in the wings in the smaller ones, except for Rarity. Rarity has a lot of wire, all in her mane, all in her tail. All the main 6 have a little piece of wire about this long in the base of the tail, and that just helps to give it support because the tails are so heavy. So I do use a little bit of wire. Same way with like the big ponies down here, the princesses, they have wire in their wings. There is no wire in her mane. For the great big princesses, I use Pellot. the heaviest Pellon that you can buy. And I cut it a little smaller than the size of the mane, and I put Pellon in those manes to give it the stiffness, and then I pack quilt batting around them. So I don't use stuffing in them because stuffing on something that long can fall, and then you end up with all your batting or padding at the end of the mane. So over time, she'll be poofy at the end and flat at the top. So I use quilt batting, and that seems to work really, really well. So assembly, after I cut out the bodies, I do the bodies first. Who's ever got that? That's how I start. I just sew the bodies together, I stuff them, and then I do my hand stitching, and then the head is added last, or next, and the manes and tails are added last. So it just works best that way. There's a couple of free patterns that shows the heads attached to the body, and but I do them separate. I just kind of like the look of it better. It gives a more defined neck. Okay, how many in here have experience with sewing that are trying to make plushies? Okay, not too many. If you want more experience with sewing and maybe you're out of high school and you're still wanting to learn to do this, my suggestion is almost every little town or big city has got community colleges, and they offer sewing classes. And just go and take a class and learn basic sewing. Okay, and it's just a great way to learn basic sewing. The other thing is, if you belong to a church, a lot of the older ladies in churches, they all sew, or many of them would love to pass on their experience. And just ask them; they'd love to help you if you want to know more about sewing. So, because that's where I learned, was from my grandma. And she taught me way more than what high school ever did. So, and then just practice. Practice, 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 practice. I've been doing it for 2 years, so, so you can't give up. Okay. And that's my, that's where I'm at on DeviantArt. And like I said, you can just come on there and contact me anytime. And so I would be happy to answer any of your questions. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes?
You mentioned last year in your panel that there was a certain way you go about stuffing to prevent the legs from flexing to the point where they start to lose their shape or lose their ability to stand upright. I think you might just want to mention that.
Okay, well, when I stuff them, I have a stuffing stick, and the polyfill comes with a little dowel, and I began to find out the little dowels, if you push your polyfill with a little dowel, it makes them lumpy. So I just went and got a big, thicker dowel, a bigger round diameter to it, and I stuff them down in here lightly to where they've got a good formity to them, and then these legs are all hand sewn into place, okay? Otherwise, when you first stuff them, they're like this. So you have to hand sew in here in the armpits, and that gives them, this gives them their formity by hand sewing them in place. So once I have them hand sewn in place, then I go back and I stuff them tighter, and it's however tight you want them as to how much, how much you pack them. So I like my ponies stiffer. Most plush makers do not pack them as tight as I do, but the reason I do is I want these things to last, because they're not cheap. And I mean, there's all ranges and price ranges of plushies out there, everywhere from 25 bucks up to $1,000. And mine are at the top of the list. These are $450. Okay, that Celestia down there is $1,000, and I sell them like crazy. So the demand is huge, but I want these to last. They go to high-end collectors, and where the joints are little right here, if you don't pack those tight over time, they break down, and then you end up with a plush like this. Now, I don't know about you, but if I pay $400 for something, I want it to last. So I pack them tighter, they're firmer. If you're looking for something to cuddle with and sleep with at night, these are not the ones. So, and they do make them. Go get a Build-A-Bear. They're soft, squishy, cuddly, and they're great for sleeping with. But these are not. They're soft, very soft. You can still cuddle them, because I do.
Actually, you can actually, you can do either like firm or soft squishy.
Right, that's what I just said. You can pack as much stuff into them as you want of your own plushie to make them however you want to make them. And if you want one that's, I mean, it depends on what you're wanting it for. So if you want it really, really soft and squishy to sleep with, just put less polyfill in it. So I like them this way because, like I said, most of mine go to high-end collectors. I've sent a ton of them overseas. I don't know what it is with Norway, but Norway's got more bronies in it than the United States does. It's amazing. Yes, there you go. I have sent so many to Norway. I don't know if their winters are long or what, but so. But like I said, I do make them firmer because I want them to last. So anyway, do you guys have any questions?
I noticed on your DeviantArt, you have a picture of Laura Boston, the Pon3Con.
Yes.
Did she come?
Sitting right down here, I think it's down there. And Inky Notebook got a hold of me and she asked me to contribute something to the Traveling Pony Museum that went to Pon3Con last year. And so that's the first one I made, and that one went to Pony3Con, and when Lauren was out there, she signed it. So that one is a signed Pon3Con. But right after that, I made another one that was my newer pattern, because like I said, I always tweak. And so I made one that was actually bigger and more accurate than that one, and I put it on my DA just for the fun of it. I was probably originally going to give it to my son, and Lauren contacted me, and she asked me what it would take to purchase it. And I said, I think we can do a trade. So we did. And so, yes, she took that one, and it wasn't long after that that Sipsy contacted me, and I did hers, and yeah, Wildfire, and I did, Jason Thiessen contacted me, and I gave him a Rainbow Dash, and now Andrea that I met here at NerdCon is got a Pinkie Pie coming, so. So it's been fun, yeah, that part's cool.
My question is about the embroidery, just because I don't know embroidery sewing machine very well. When you do the embroidery, I assume you do it on the uncut cloth before you cut out the pieces, or after?
I've seen it done both ways. The way I do it is I actually just cut out a square, and I center the eye where, you know, I put my template, my piece of paper that looks like the head, on the square so I can kind of tell where the eye is going to be, and then I embroider it on the square, on two of them, one going one way and one the other. And then I lay the squares together so the eyes are perfectly lined up, and I pin it in place, and then I cut it out.
Okay, I was kind of assuming
Yes.
that was the case, because I figured it'd be easier on the sewing machine for one thing than working
Well,
on it more.
actually, the number one reason for doing that is because when you look at them straight on, if you don't have those eyes perfectly lined up, it shows, and it looks weird. So, and it looks not professional. So that's my number one reason for doing that, is I want the eyes to line up from the front view. Yes?
What do you use to make up those hats?
Actually, this is a Build-A-Bear. I was hand making these, and they were taking me all day long just to do the hat. Now, each one of these, the main six, take me between 20 to 25 hours to make one. So when people ask me about the cost, it's not the material in them, it's the labor. And, you know, I work 2 and 3 days to do one pony, but these were taking me all day long to do the hats. I thought, that's crazy. Well, but Build-A-Bear's hats are chocolate. And so I just got paint, and I painted them, and I cut the circle out. So that's, and it looks more like a cowboy hat, so that's your hat. Yes?
Who is it supposed to be?
That was an OC. That's a Terminator pony. That's supposed to be metal. And that was the cutie mark they sent me, and I did make it. I had to remake it after my mom cut it wrong. So, and it's on my that pony is on my DA in my gallery, completed. So, yeah, it was a Terminator pony. So, any other questions? Yes.
You talked about the stretch in your fabric. Is there an easy way to tell if it's the correct way or not?
There is. NerdCon, I had fabric with me and I ran out and forgot it. But you can tell it stretches real easy one way. It won't stretch it all the other. So, and there's a nap. The fabric, when you look at it, it's almost dull going this way. And when you pull up on it, it gets a whole lot darker. So you can tell which direction the fabric is going. And so make sure all your naps go the same direction. So even though the stretch may be going this way, one side of your pony, the nap could be going down, and on the other side, the nap could be going up, so that's going to look weird. You can have a light on one side and dark on the other. So make sure your naps are all going down, and the stretch is going across. But you can tell by just pulling on it real easy. Yes?
When a new character is introduced to the series and, say, explodes in popularity, how soon do you put that in Plush, or do you finish all your current projects and move on that becomes?
That's a good question, and the internet is awesome because there is no trade secrets, there is no secrets of any kind on the internet, and new episodes are leaked before they're ever aired. And I think it was about halfway through season 2, the first time they leaked an episode, I was one of the first plush makers to jump on that, and I don't remember which pony it was, but I think it was Future Twilight. I was the first one to come out with Future Twilight. And at that time, I wasn't doing commissions, and I put her on eBay, and she sold for $1,000 because I was the first one to come out with one. And the second time it happened, it was Chrysalis, the Chrysalis episode, the wedding episode, and all the plush makers did cadence. I did chrysalis. And so there was about 20 cadence on the internet, on eBay, and I was the only chrysalis, and she sold for $2,400. Yeah, their Candace didn't sell all that well, and mine was the most expensive plush I've ever made, so that worked out well. So you just kind of have to second guess the market. And I don't do eBay much anymore. I just thought the prices were ridiculous, and so I just basically moved to private commissions. The other reason I did that was because of Hasbro. Most of you know that I was contacted by Hasbro. It skyrocketed all over the internet, went crazy that White Dove was taken down by Hasbro. I'm sure most of you, if you're on any sites, you have seen that. That is not true, okay? That is wrong. But what they did was they did contact me. They actually contacted the president of DeviantArt. And at that time, I was like all the rest of the plush makers. I had my site, I had my prices and everything. But they asked the head of DeviantArt to take down my site, completely take me off of DA. DA came to my rescue, and they asked Hasbro if it was okay if I just removed my prices, which I did. So I took down my prices, and Hasbro was happy with that. They never asked me to stop making plushies. They did not have a problem with it. I later found out Hasbro loves the fans. They want them. It promotes the show. If it isn't for the fans, you're not going to have a show, and you're sure not going to have a toy line. So they really want the bronies to promote the show, but they had to protect their trademark, and so they have to have some type of an action, and their action was asking me to remove my prices. So I did. But I never received a C&D. That was not true. But it was a wildfire on the internet. I couldn't stop it. No one was listening to me, so I just let it burn itself out after a month. And then I went on there and I told them the truth. So that's kind of what happened there. So
Did they accept the truth and move on? Or
they did. After a month, even EQD and several of them went on and said, oh, okay, we have to come on and apologize. We posted the wrong information. White Dove wasn't taken down. So a lot of sites had to come on and apologize. But I just let them go because there was no stopping it because it was a wildfire.
Just like what happened was when that's why the wildfire.
It was.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't until after a while after that it touched.
the problem was this happened in March 2 years ago, and there was only about 3 or 4 really well-known plush makers, and I was one of them. So, there's probably 300 plush makers now. So at that time, there just wasn't hardly any of us, and I was one of the top plush makers, and so, yeah, I got noticed a lot. So, any other questions? Yes.
Do you get a lot of back and forth with your pricing now that there's a lot more plush makers in the market?
I don't, because I'm still at the top. I'm still a number one plush maker. So, yeah, it hasn't affected me at all. And the scare with Build-A-Bear coming out, saying, oh, Build-A-Bear's coming out, and I'm like, well, and my son said, don't worry about it, it isn't going to affect you at all. And when they came out, I agreed. So
Now, okay, would you say that, like, between using making for the mains versus something like doll hair or yarn, like, what would you think for, like, other hair?
okay, yarn is an abomination. The fake fur, the long fake fur, if you do it well, I think it's kind of cute. There was a dash that just sold on eBay here just the other day that had the long fake fur, and I thought it was kind of cute. I prefer the molded because it's show accurate, and that's what I'm known for. Do you have a question? I do a lot of OCs. The black one down here on the end, that is Chaos, and that's my daughter's OC. I had a contest here in January for OCs on DA. I had over 900 entries, so that was just crazy, and I couldn't pick the top one. I ended up picking the top 3. So to date, I've given away 28 ponies, free ponies, so because I've run 2 charity drives for our local food pantry, and we raised $10,000 in two different. Community raised that, and it kept the doors open on our food pantry over here in Red Oak, Iowa. And because it was about ready to close, there was just no money. So we did that last year, and so I'll be doing that again in September. We'll be having another contest. So I've got 3 OCs I have to make, and I've got one almost done right now. But yeah. Now, yeah, Flufflepuff was one of my entries, and I think got into the top 16. But that was nuts trying to pick one out of 900. Anyway.
Okay.
Any other questions?
How many of those said entries are probably a bunch of alicorns?
Actually, I told him no alicorns, and I probably had 100 of them that were alicorns after I told them no alicorns, and they said, that's okay, you don't have to make it an alicorn, this is what it is, make it into a regular pony. So I thought, well, didn't just draw it as a regular pony, but okay. A fluffy pony?
Yeah, like one that's like bubble pop.
No. No. No, Flufflepuff's the only one I've seen like that. So, but I saw every combination you could possibly think of, and that old journal is still on my DA if you want to go back through my journals, and it has got all 900 entries are still there. So that was crazy. So, okay. Any other questions? Yes.
What are your plans for the big red pony?
I'm waiting to be told.
Big Red Maverick will probably sell much in Nebraska.
I don't know yet. Yeah, the Celestia is the one I just finished. She's the last pony I just made right before Con. I wanted to get her done. She's the first time I brought a Celestia to Con, so I was pretty happy with the way she turned out. She's probably the biggest pony. I am currently working on a full-size pony that you can ride. She has a metal frame, she's on wheels, and she'll be Twilight. So, yes, she does have a weight limit of about 170 pounds, but you can ride her. She moves. So, yeah, she's full size. I just didn't get her done. So, my goal is to get her done for Midwest Brony Fest in Kansas City in July. Yes.
Is it a regular Twilight or alicorn Twilight?
Okay, well, I haven't decided yet because I have to figure out if you can still ride her with the wings in the way. So I have to wait till I get her all done and then see if I can add the wings. So I actually had the wings done for this one here, and then I ran off and forgot them. So.
In terms of materials for that, how much is that running?
Well, I had to order 5 yards of lavender minky.
Getting it out of the house.
And actually, it's in my basement, so yeah. It weighs about 40 pounds, so it's not too bad. So. For Twilight? And actually, that was oh yeah, yes. Yes, Daring Do, mainly. They're always folded.
So for your life size,
I could, and that was suggested by my son to put folded wings on her. So yeah, that's a possibility too. So, but yes, it was my goal to get her done here for Pon3, and I just didn't. I have a full-time job outside of this, and it kept me very busy in the last 2 months, so I didn't get her done. Yes.
My question is, you just mentioned about ordering in fabric. Do you ever put up like where you order your fabric so other people maybe order the same thing?
It's not on. I try not to put too much information on the front of my DA page because I just got scared after Hasbro contacted me 2 years ago, and so, but anybody that notes me, I just tell them I order all my fabric online. Currently, we're having trouble getting the colors we need because there's so many people ordering. It used to be I could go anywhere and order as much as I want, and Minky Delight was my favorite place to order. Minky Delight has no more Minky. So, yeah. I know, it's called Minky Delight, you've got like 3 colors. So I don't even order from there anymore. Fabric.com is where I order some. There's Fabric Depot. There's several. But I just have to go where I can find it now. Because like I said, there was about 3 or 4 of us 2 years ago. Now there's 1,000 people making plushies.
Yeah, I was figuring that would be, you'd have to pretty much order online. Because I mean, like a Joann's fabric only carries so many colors.
Actually, one of the plush makers I talk to quite often, which is White Heather, she lives in Seattle. And that's where she gets a lot of hers from, is from Joann's. But I live in Red Oak. Red Oak doesn't have a fabric store, let alone a Joann's. So.
On the same note about the Minkies, now that there's a lot more demand for Minky out there, have you seen the Minky suppliers try different color variations, or is there just a little...
I've seen more. Fabric.com has been pretty good about adding new colors. But you have to be real careful if you order from one site to another. lavender is not always lavender, depending on who you order from. And if you get partway through a plushie and find out you run out, and so you order from somewhere else, even sometimes when you order from the same place, the color variation can change. So be careful about when you start a plush, make sure you have enough of that color to finish it. So it's just like any kind of fabric, carpet, anything, if dye lots are different. Yes?
Have you ever made a plush of King Sombra?
I haven't. I don't like King Sombra. So, you'll find that I love doing this, but I have favorites, and there's ones I don't like. I just don't like King Sombra's design, and it hasn't been very popular, so I haven't done him. Yeah, I didn't like the shape of his horn or anything.
A lot of people consider
I've never thought of
Sombra like
making
bad
a
made
Discord.
overseas. That's the main comment I've heard about.
What'd you say?
Have you ever thought of making a Discord?
A Discord? Okay, I've probably been asked that question several hundred times. on DA. And I do not make Discord because I think that the best plush maker for Discord is Magna Storm. She makes absolutely the best Discord I've ever seen. And so I have no reason to make Discord. I'm a fan of the ponies. Discord's not a pony. But she makes the best. If you want a Discord, hers are fantastic. So I just haven't made that one.
How about Spike?
I haven't made a Spike either. Spike's not a pony. So I'm crazy about the pony. Yes.
Have you made a Smarty Pants?
And no, but my son has already requested one, so that's got to come soon. In fact, I've already started looking for the monk cloth. So, I got to make a Smarty Pants. So.
Yeah, sure. When Equestrian Girls comes out, the Spike is a dog as a plush.
Do we have to talk about this? Morphed ponies. Okay. I'll hold reservations on that one yet. I have actually thought about when they come out, attempting one. I haven't got enough enthusiasm yet to really follow through on that, but I have to wait and see them. The reason I make the ponies is because I fell in love with the show. And because I love the show so much, I wanted to recreate the ponies. So, yes. Actually, I want to make her too, but I haven't had time. My commission list right now is about 4 months long, and it's been that way for 2 years. So I just don't ever get caught up, and no one has asked me to make a Sakura. Not on commission. Yes?
What about Tom?
Let me go in the parking lot, and I'll get you a Tom. Griffins. Now, right now, guys, all I'm doing is the ponies. There's still so many ponies I haven't got to make, or I've only got to make once. I want to make them again. So, yes.
What about Nightmare Ribbon?
That one is one I have got to get done. I don't have her for my collection. So, yes, I want to get her done. Yes?
Who's your favorite pony to make?
To make?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a toughie. Rarity's my favorite pony, but I don't think she's my favorite to make because of all the wire. I would say Luna. I've made a lot of Lunas, and she's probably my favorite. I love her design and the way she turns out, so probably Luna. Yes?
I was wondering if you made any Wonder Rolls.
What?
I was wondering if you made any Wonder Rolls.
No, but I want to. Yes?
Have you made Twilight and her friends in the gala dresses?
I only made one, and I made Fluttershy. But it didn't turn out very good because it was when I was first learning. And I got the stretch going wrong, and so she's got a funny looking head. So, but that's all a learning process. So, but yes, nobody's asked me to commission the dresses. So I probably have done more daring do's than anything. So, yes.
What about Mr. and Mrs. Kate?
I haven't been asked to do that. And right now, like I said, my commission list is so long, I've been doing what I've been asked to do. But ever so often, I'll jump outside of that if there's new characters when the show comes out that I really want to do. There wasn't any this last season that I really wanted to do, and there was actually very few new characters. So, yes.
I know you said that your commission list is like 4 months long. Have you ever considered doing clothing for them?
I have. I've done quite a bit of clothing for them. So yeah, all the pictures are on my gallery. So I don't like making clothing. Clothing's tiny and tedious, but it makes the ponies look really adorable.
What's the most difficult pony to make?
Chrysalis. Yeah, I made 3 chrysalises to date. I made one just probably about 3 weeks ago. But I mean, they're hard. They're real difficult with all the holes in them, and so, yeah.
I was wondering, what other plushies have you made in the past, though? I mean, aside from, obviously now you're doing ponies that are like.
Before the regalia?
Yeah, before the regalia. Sorry, I don't remember the exact name.
That's okay. Before that, I ran a taekwondo school. I'm a 3rd degree black belt in martial arts. In taekwondo. My school went to state 3 times in a row, and we won the state championship for small schools. I am state champion in my division, and I went up against ISU and I beat them. So yeah, I was fond of that. I did that for 12 years. I didn't know ponies at that time. So okay, I gotta stop, guys. It's 1:45 and Jeopardy's coming up, and I assume y'all have your tickets. Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm giving out tonight is tickets. So. You got a ticket. I hope you're all happy. Everybody won. You got a ticket. No, I wouldn't do that to you. So yeah, I just want to make sure we get the drawing in before Jeopardy comes in and takes over and make somebody happy. I do ask that whoever wins, that you guys come and congratulate them. Don't just walk out. I can only give away 1 pony. I'm sorry. I mean, this is what happens to me. I've done so many drawings on VA. This will be my 29th pony I've given away. So be happy for whoever wins, okay? If I could, I'd give every one of you a pony, trust me. So, but I can't even make them that fast. So. Okay, I'm gonna draw, so.
Maybe you don't see the tickets you're drawing.
Look
around.
I can see anything.
It's so rare. The winner doesn't even know.
Don't go into the light.
Completely right. Okay. Everyone look at your card. Single one?
I got a single one. It says, the winner will be announced tonight. Okay, wait a minute, I got spots for words. 7, 9, 2, 5. 2. 502.
Oh, we're off this
Yep, we got to confirm.
It is her choice to remain 6, and she gets to take one person. I think I'm shaking as much as she is. Oh, that was awesome. Yes. Oh, yeah, do it again. Okay, guys, all I can tell you is come to Midwest Brony Fest in Kansas City in July, and I'll do it again. Okay? So it'll be another great
We have
fun.
a booth added there, so please come by if you want to register now or register online. We got $5 off for the registration during this convention, so please stop by there.
Hey, for you guys that are local, that's only a 3-hour drive. Right. So we're not far. Put a bunch of you together and come down to Midwest Brony Fest.